Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Esther. Thank you so much for tuning in today. So the last few videos I've talked about parenting and my children and things that I've been going through. I'm happy to report things are getting a little bit better since I feel like I've been letting a lot of things go, and now that I'm realizing it really takes me to a place where I don't want to be, it's getting a little bit better. So anyways, today I want to talk a little bit about my debt journey, where I am, and things like that. So these numbers are from May that I'm going to be sharing with you. And the goal is for me to bring you another video update at the end of the month in August here. So that'll give us a 3-month update of where I am, settlements and things like that. But before we get to my debt, let's talk about how I got here, right? So how I got into a whole lot of debt is because I have kids. Inflation happened, things go up, and yeah, there we go. Anyways, but back in 2017, literally, I had 1 or 2 credit cards. Actually, I had 3 credit cards. And those credit cards, I believe they total up to about $10,000. And we needed to buy a home. So what we did was we borrowed the money from a family member that allowed us to pay off this debt. And then we did pay her back maybe about a year later, just so that we can get our credit to where we wanted it to be. And that did happen. And we're grateful for that. Now, so from 2017 up to 2019, literally, we were still using our credit cards, but we weren't carrying balances or anything like that. Things were great. And then in 2019, we took a trip to Haiti. That was really hard on us. We ended up spending so much more money than we intended. And then COVID happened. So when COVID happened, I was pregnant with my 3rd child. And so we already had 2. I just said that. Anyways, with the 3rd child. And my husband got furloughed, so he wasn't working. I wasn't working for a little bit. And then I had the baby. I had maternity leave pay because I had vacation time that I was saving up. So I had FMLA pay and things like that. But, it was not enough to keep up, which was okay for us because we were able to keep up with everything except for our panels, because we did get solar panels. So we were able to keep up with everything. Thank God for that. And then in 2020, my husband didn't go back to work until the following year. He was literally home for a good 7-8 months, I want to say. I did go back to work, had the baby in May, went back to work in August, I want to say I went back to work. And then we had the other 2 stay home with my husband. And then when my husband went back to work, there happened the kicker. So because of COVID, we were able to get some assistance for childcare and things like that. But in 2022, I found a different job because, of course, we always needed to make a little bit more money and things like that. So because I found this job where I was making a little bit more, which was fine, but the year after, which was 2023, I got a little raise. And because of that raise, that took us over the qualifying, amount, literally by $300. So because of that, we ended up losing the subsidy that we got to help us with childcare, and hence started our issues because our budget was just meeting our needs. So we weren't over in expenses, but we necessarily didn't have enough for savings either. So literally we just had enough to income expenses. Well, we went from paying about $400 for daycare between the 3 children, because at the time all 3 of them were in the subsidy, including I think my son would have been kindergarten or 1st grade then, but over the summer it would still cover the subsidy. The subsidy will still cover him. So we went from paying about $480 for all 3 children to about paying almost $1,000 a month. that was rough. Okay. So just for the 4-year-old, that's what really hit us, because, well, he was 3 at the time, because he was in he was not in VPK yet. So here in Florida, we have VPK. And my daughter was in VPK, so it was a little bit less for her. But daycare alone for that 3-year-old child of mine was $170 a week, right? I can't remember the numbers now. That was about 3 years ago. So if we do the 170 times 4, that alone is $680 that we had to pay just for the one child. And my 4-year-old, who was in VPK at the time, so VPK is free for 3 hours. And then there's what's called the wraparound service. So it's typically from 9 to 12. And then if you don't pick them up at that time, you have to pay wraparound service, which is from 12 to whatever time the daycare is open or whatever time you pick them up. So that, for her, I think that was another $100 there. And then my son, like I said, I believe he was in kindergarten or first grade at the time. And we were paying for him, I believe it was $50 a week, $75 a week or something like that. So that definitely took us way over our budget, right? So our zero budget, where we had no extra wiggle room, now to adding about $600 to about $700 to it. So we played with the numbers as much as we could, and then we got into where we were applying, for credit cards. We went from having 3 credit cards in 2020 up to 2023 to 2026. We ended up with 17 credit cards. Right? We went from about 3 credit cards to 17 credit cards. Okay? And how that ended up happening was, I would always apply for the 0 interest credit cards, which worked great, and it was fine as long as I could stay on top of it. And I started doing this back in 2022, I believe. So I would apply for a 0% APR, and I could do this on a separate video and I can explain this a little bit better. So I would apply for those. Typically they give you those on a 7-month, some are 7, some are 12, 15 months, 18 months, 21 months, whatever. Then you don't pay any interest. So then what I would do is based on what would qualify for, I would then transfer the balance from the highest card with the interest to that new card that had a 0 interest. We were good about paying those new cards off, because the whole point was to apply for it, transfer the balance, put it somewhere, and don't use it. That worked great for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And we would pay them off, because then we wouldn't use them. And I would set the minimum payment for me to pretty much pay them off. That was working great. And then it wasn't. Then things got even worse, right? Because now things are getting more expensive. Yes, I've gotten another job, but I was like, sometimes I even ask myself, I was like, did it make more sense that I switch jobs to make a little bit more money? Or should I have stayed at that job where I was making less money and get the help that I needed? That was not the only thing that happened. So the other thing that happened that really hit our pocket was insurance. Was insurance for my then 5-6-year-old, my oldest son. So because I'm also making a little bit more money. We had Medicaid. We never qualified for food stamps or anything like that, but the Medicaid was a great deal of a help. That would cover the kids' Medicaid, not myself or my husband. But thankfully we both had insurance through our job. And so it didn't matter. But now, because we made more money, and my son, I think he had turned 6 and he didn't qualify for Medicaid anymore. So now we have a program here. I don't know if this is statewide or countrywide. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Where it's called Kid Care. So Kid Care is based on your income. You can pay a lower amount for insurance. Now, the reason why we got stuck with kid care and I needed to have that insurance for my son is because he was dealing with his ear problems. My son has had 3 surgeries now in his ear. Let me know if you guys want to. I can dive into that as well, explain all of this. So because of the amount that we made on a monthly basis, we ended up paying I think it was $260 we paid a month for insurance just for my son. But at the time, I didn't mind paying that because the appointments were frequent and with the surgeries, and I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. In most cases, it was just a $5 copay, and then I didn't have to pay anything else. So I was like, okay, I'll just pay the $260 monthly. We did that for about 2 years. So that took another strain in our pockets. That was hard. So it wasn't until this year, actually, we ended up taking him out of the kid care. He had his last surgery in January of 2025, I believe. So because he was kind of done with everything and all of the follow-ups, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop paying for this. It's getting more expensive. So we got them onto my husband's insurance. We still have to do follow-ups once every 3 months, but it's not as often. And co-pays for it, my husband's insurance is $100 every time we go, which is so expensive. Anyways, so all of those are reasons why we ended up getting into debt. We ended up getting a new car in 2022 because my husband's car broke down. 2 years ago or last year, we had to get another car because my husband got into an accident. So it's been rough. So now I'm making plans for us to basically just pay off consumer debt, so credit cards, student loans, and our car. I'm giving myself about 5 years or so to pay off all of these things. Anything I've mentioned, if you guys would like to, I will get into those in details in a different video. But I would like to share with you guys where we are debt-wise and a couple of the approaches that I've taken to kind of help with that. So currently right now, looking at this, I think we're down to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, so we do have 17 credit cards on here on my little Google sheet that I have made. So I've broken it down to credit card, card loan, student loans, and mortgages. So I'm just going over this here just to kind of share with you guys. Now, last year, there is a guy that I follow, Anthony O'Neill, and he talks about money and all of this. And he made a suggestion about like a debt relief and debt payoff company. So I tried it out. Honestly, I'm not happy with it because they tell you all these great things and then they have so many hidden fees and it's so much. And of course they tell you, oh, it's nothing. We'll take care of everything for you. So I kind of caught on to what they were doing. Sorry, hopefully this wasn't too loud. I realized my air was on so loud. And I started calling the companies myself and started making settlements. So in another video, I'll talk about debt consolidation, settlements, and all of these things. But as far as credit cards, guys, with these 17 credit cards, and I do have a person on here as well, so that makes it 18. So in this particular person, we borrowed money from so we can pay off these high interest credit cards. So I'm just in the process of paying her back as well. Okay. So for credit cards, and I did this back in May because I really just had a wake up call and I was like, this is ridiculous. Okay. So Esther, let's do something here. While our expenses are more than our income, I'm trying to see what we can do. So as of May 22nd, when I did this, our credit card balance was at $55,312.54. Credit cards and one person. So I'm counting that person as I'm making payments back to them as a credit card because it was for a credit card. $55,312.54. Okay. Car loan. So we only have a loan on my car, the one that I drive, my husband, the one that he drives. We bought that car with the little settlement money that we got from his other vehicle when he got into the accident, and we just added the rest so we didn't want another car payment. So for the car loan, this last statement that I pulled was for the June statement that was in May that came out, we owe on the car $26,183.88. Hoping this number is significantly lower when I do this next. Okay, student loans. So I have 2 student loans. I have my student aid for my college degree. And then last year I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I took out a loan so I could do something in IT. That did not blow into anything. Literally, it was $13,000 down the drain that I'm still paying for. Okay, I think that was one of the worst moves of my life, but I feel like it could have turned into something, except that it didn't. All right, so when I pulled up those numbers for May, for the first loan, I owe $5,842. For my student loan, my student aid government loans, those are at $42,959.33, totaling $48,802.22. So that's in student loans. Now the one for Ascent funding, I'm paying that off every month. I just started to pay my student aid loans again because of the government and things has changed. I've been on a 0 payment plan now for quite some time, but I'm paying it. My payments for that, between the 2 of them, so I have one that's $336, the other one is $100 and some a month. And so just between those 2 alone with credit cards, what we're calling consumer debt, right? My mortgage is not included in this. I do have a number with my mortgage in it because I was interested to see. But total debt between credit cards, car loans, and student loans, I am at a whopping $130,298.64. When I saw that number, I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? How did I get here? $130,298.64. That's what I'm going to be working on to pay off in the next 4 years. Okay. We're currently in 2026. My goal is to get 90% of this debt payoff by 2030, God willing. And the reason why I'm saying 90% is because I'm in the process of finding another job. My husband has been applying. Hopefully by then we are making a little bit more money and we could be more aggressive towards tackling these debt. Okay. So right now we're still using some of the credit cards that we have left to make up the cost for everything. However, my one credit card that has a larger limit, I don't know, what am I trying to say here? A larger credit line is getting close to maxing out. Okay, so we have to do something and we have to do it quick. Now, when I added in my mortgage, just for fun, I owe $154,384 on our mortgage. That brings our total debt to $284,683.08. The number that I am focusing on here, though, is the $130,298.64. So that's what I'm focusing on paying off here as far as debt. All right, guys. So like I said, I will do an updated videos because, 2 things before I let you go. I have called some of these companies. So I've been able to come up with some settlements of my own. And there is another interested tidbit I'll tell you guys in the next video when I talk about the finances that we were able to do to save us a little bit more money. But settlements, you have to call them and you have to stop paying on the card. And of course, is reporting to your credit. as a late payment. So my credit score has gone way down. I got my credit score, I think, so close to like the 700s a couple years ago. But as of this year, my credit is down in the 5s. Okay. Because of this whole thing when I started this whole debt journey and all of this. But I will share that with you guys as well, how we're able to make these, because I was like, oh, this is what they're doing and they're charging us a percentage for this. Why don't I pick up the call? Yes, I might pay more, but let me do that. Okay. So anyways, I've accepted a few settlements. I'll go over those in the next video. Let me know if you guys have any questions, or if you'd like a script as well for when you're calling these debt collectors. I can put one of those together for you and say the things that I've said. And how am I able to get some of these settlements? So some of the settlements they gave me, I didn't go for them right off the bat. I waited a little bit to see if they had anything better. So I've used 2 different companies as well too. I can talk about those in the next video. Thank you guys. If you've made it this long in the video, I'd like for you to share if you have any debt, any goals that you're working towards, and how are you doing it. I'm interested to know. If you'd like for me to share this spreadsheet that I put together, how I broke it down, I'll be more than happy to kind of like share that with you guys as well. I can just put this like in a Google Doc and just share that here with you guys too, if that makes it easier. The formula is already in there. All you have to do is just plug in your numbers. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.